Boom, 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 boom. Now tell me what you gonna do, but it ain't nowhere to run. When judgment comes for you, when judgment comes for you, tell me what you gonna do, when it ain't nowhere to hide. When judgment comes for you, 'cause it's gonna come for you.
Making it for water, easy, see something Charlie. Little boo God's got him, and I'm gonna miss everybody out of row and flow like I ain't looked at a while. Like and pray for dust, and they play too deep for being sad. Little legs I got to be. Tell me your feature deceased, would it please? Marry me by my grand, when you can go follow
Back on Wrestling Network, welcome back to the CrosUp. We look back at the week that was in professional wrestling. This week I'll be running through the results and happenings from Raw on September 29th to Collision on October 4th. We opened Raw with a recap of Asuka attacking Io Sky last week and having Kairi Sane help her beat her down to end the show. Last week we have Rhea Ripley come out to the ring to get things going. She says she knew this would happen with Asuka so the Kabuki Warriors can come get some. Instead, Io Sky comes out. Looks like she's about to cry. Io admits that Rhea was right about the Kabuki Warriors, but they are her family, and she still loves them. The Kabuki Warriors then pop up on the screen with Asuka commenting in both English and Japanese, being about how she's mad at Io Sky for turning to Ripley instead of her family when she needs help. Asuka is willing to forgive her, though, if Sky will apologize, but it's too late for Rhea. We go back to the ring, and Rhea says that she has been betrayed by her family, or by family before. I'm talking about the Judgment Day, obviously, and wants Io on her side. Io isn't sure, and she says she needs time before leaving and walking away. Kabuki Warriors then come in to jump Rhea from behind. Io isn't sure what to do, but eventually runs in to make the save, throwing Asuka off of Rhea. Kairi gets in between them, and Asuka blows the blue mist in Sky's eyes, blinding her. And it gets everywhere like it did the previous week as well. Rhea then is back up, but the numbers get the better of her as the Kabuki Warriors send her into the post. Kairi then drops the insane elbow on Io, and the Kabuki Warriors stand tall. We then get Dom Mysterio defeating Rusev via pinfall, retaining his Intercontinental Championship. He was able to trap the referee in the corner and use kind of him not being able to see to low blow Rusev, and then he rolls him up with a handful of tights as well. So Dom escaping a huge test from Rusev in that match. So I have a feeling we'll probably have that match again somewhere down the line, but he was able to escape this time. We go to earlier in the day, and LA Knight and Anna Pierce argue about LA Knight's refereeing abilities. LA says he wants a title shot at Seth Rollins, but the New Day come in to say they should be the number one contenders for the tag team titles. LA Knight and Anna Pierce aren't interested in anything the New Day has to say. And he says he's willing to face Kofi Kingston because he wants to shut somebody up tonight. And he wants to beat a former world champion on his way to being a world champion himself. And Adam Pearce seems to be okay with this and makes the match. We then get video of the Seth Rollins versus Cody Rhodes rivalry, how they started as enemies when Cody first came back in. Rhodes had to leave to become a bigger star while Rollins took over in his absence. Then Cody returned, won their feud, and Rollins hates him and hates that fact, which fuels him to want to face Cody again and come out on top and be the better man. And we'll get more video on this later. We then recap Bayley being nice to Lyra Valkyria last week and then going insane after the match like she has been. We then get Bayley in the back wearing a Lyra shirt, actually, and comes up to Lyra in the back, talks about how great things went last week. Lyra says she wants Bayley out there with her tonight, but that can't happen. Or I think Bayley asked Lyra to be out there, and Lyra says it's not going to happen this time. We then get Raquel Rodriguez defeating Bayley via pinfall when Raquel hits the Tejana Bomb following some interference from Roxanne. After the match, they continue to beat Bayley down, and then Lyra, of course, comes out to make the save. Bayley laughs a lot and then screams that her and Lyra got him, as she then grabs her by the head and says, "Come on, you idiot, let's go get him again." And Lyra just stands there confused as all hell. We then get Jimmy Uso asking Jey Uso where he was last week when he needed help. Jay says he didn't help because it was LA Knight out there who cost them at WrestlePalooza. Why did Jimmy help LA? Jay talks about how you need to worry about yourself and brings up that Jimmy has never been world champion. Jay seems to walk that back a bit because he seems like he knows that he has gotten under Jimmy's skin and tells him that they need to be ready for tonight. We then get Kyrie. She comes in to check on EO, who is recovering from the mist, saying that they can still be a family. EO says leave her alone, but has a photo of herself with Kyrie and Asuka. LA Knight then defeats Kofi Kingston via pinfall following a BFT. Then get Maxine Dupree and Akira Tozawa in the back, but they're interrupted by Becky Lynch, who doesn't think much of either of them. Becky does her usual thing where she mentions that she's the greatest women's wrestler of all time, and that Sports Illustrated has said it, Bleacher Report said it, all the good stuff. But then Maxine brings up the fact that she tapped to AJ Lee at WrestlePalooza, and then Becky knocks then she beats both her and Tozawa up after this. And then she walks up to Seth Rollins and says he has to go deal with something right after they have a little chit chat. Rollins then comes out. He is showered with chants of CM Punk, Roman Reigns, Cody Rhodes. Rollins says he is 0-3 to Cody Rhodes so far since he came back, but it doesn't bother him because it doesn't matter. Those matches were in the past, and now it's time to find the future of the industry at Crown Jewel. The match is to determine the future of the industry, and some people actually want Cody to be that future. Some people actually want Cody to be the quarterback of WWE, and he asks, are they crazy? Rollins talks about everything he's done around here, and you still cheer for people like Cody Rhodes and CM Punk. Cody then comes out saying that the people are really the ones who control everything. He brings up the Vision showing up on SmackDown and how that was probably Paul Heyman's doing. So who is in charge of the Vision? Seth says every decision, including the team being on SmackDown, goes through him. Cody asks if Seth allowed Heyman to handle Brock Lesnar's introduction, and then he repeats that every decision runs through him. The fans disagree, and Rollins is annoyed. So Cody brings it back to Crown Jewel. Where are they going to be in 20 years? Will they be in the chairs back there reminiscing? Either way, Rollins offered his hand to Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania 40, despite all of their issues. Rollins tells him to shut up because they were never friends, and Cody was just a means to an end. Seth is going to cleanse the timeline and forget their history. There is only one person set to lead them in the WWE to the future, and that is Seth. We then go back, and Rhea Ripley is checking on Io Sky, who's still very blue and very blinded by the mist. They have a tag team match set up against the Kabuki Warriors at Crown Jewel, and Io says that Rhea can trust her, not to worry about it. We then get a match where AJ Styles and Dragon Lee defeat Los Americanos, going by the names of Bravo and Rio. I believe they are Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne. I know one is Tyler Bate for sure, but not quite sure on the other one. But from all accounts, I've heard that it's Pete Dunne. But I don't know which is which either. I'm going to have to figure that out through the rest of the time. But AJ hits Bravo with the Styles Clash, and that gets him the win. So I'll be better next week, and I'll know which one is which. But I did not pay that much attention to that on this go around, but we'll go to the next segment. Stephanie Vaquera is ready for Tiffany Stratton at Crown Jewel. Tiffany Stratton then walks in and says she respects Stephanie, but Tiff has been champion for 268 days, and someone brand new isn't going to come in and shake up things for her, and she will be the Crown Jewel Women's Champion. We go to the Vision in the back with Seth Rollins not looking confident that he can beat Cody Rhodes, even with Paul Heyman offering some reassurances. And then we get the Usos defeating the Vision after Roman Reigns returns with a chair and destroys both of the Brawns, allowing for the Usos to hit a tandem Uso splash on Braun Breaker to get the pinfall victory. And then after the match, Reigns and Jay seem to have a one-on-one chat with Jay saying he'll smash them and everything seems cool, but Jimmy kind of looks on that he's not so sure about it from a distance. The main event, there weren't too many matches. I think there was only 3 or 4 matches on the whole show, but Usos versus The Vision would be my match of the night for Raw. But we'll move from there to NXT. We open with a recap of last week's TNA Invasion, which sets up next week's show that we thought was called Invasion, but we'll get a different name for it throughout the night. We then get a recap of No Mercy, because that also happened recently. We then get Ricky Saints coming out for a chat. He's the new NXT champion. He talks about how he wanted to bring reality around here, and the reality is that he is the new NXT champion. Did he do it? Did we do it? He bet everything on himself, and that the title is proof that it works. And here comes JC Jane as the fellow champion on NXT. She brags about having gold, and now it's time to deal with TNA. Ava then comes out saying that JC Jane is right, which is why the two of you are the captains for Showdown, which is what they're calling the show now. Santino Marella then comes out, who says you can't trust a man named Tricky to be your captain. So Mike Santana will be his captain instead for Team TNA. At the same time, NXT's Kalani Jordan will be the women's captain for TNA. So probably just giving her over to the TNA team for the talent disparity. We'll talk about the teams on that later. But they say they're ready for a summit later. But JC has no idea how Kalani makes sense as a captain. Ricky Saints then says he'll see Mike Santana later tonight. We then get Javon Evans. He runs into TNA X Division champion Leon Slater, who they are set to face each other at Bound for Glory. They say they are cool with each other and ready for their title match when it comes around. The Culling then comes in and says they don't approve of this, and a match seems to be made between the two for later. And then Lyra comes in and gives Tatum Paxley a present, which is a new doll. We then get Jada Parker. She defeats Lash Legend via pinfall following the Hypnotic. We then get Trick Williams in the back. He talks to the NXT roster and says he should be co-captain with Ricky Saints. Ricky Saints doesn't seem all very cool with that. He says there are 2 spots left on his team. Javon Evans is getting one of them, and the other one is going to Miles Bourne, who impressed Ricky Saints at No Mercy. Trick, who seems to have some authority here, picks Josh Briggs, which makes Evans walk off. And then Ricky Saints says he'll deal with Evans, and tonight it'll be Briggs versus Bourne, and whoever wins gets the spot on the team. We then get Ethan Page. He comes out to brag about his title defense on Saturday as he turned away an Olympic-level threat. Now it's time for him to go south of the border and deal with El Hijo de Dr. Wagner Jr. Ethan Page calls him out, but instead he gets TNA's Mustafa Ali, who is greeted with a huge welcome back chant as he was there right before he was kind of released kind of out of nowhere, which we'll kind of get into. Ali gets right to the point. He says 2 years ago he earned a North American title shot, but he was released before he got the chance to have that match. Ethan Page says cry to someone who cares, but Ali says he'll be politicking for it. That's why he's talked to Ava and Santino Marella, and the title is on the line next week at Showdown. Ethan Page isn't happy, but says he can bring it, and then they brawl before Ethan Page is cleared out of the ring. We then get Fatal Influence. They are here to pick the women's team. First up, Sol Ruka, who agrees. Lola Vice wants to be on the team, but Fallon says she's getting the final spot. Laney Reed comes in to say don't trust Henley, and they have a huge argument after that. JC then calms things down and makes Fallon versus Lola for the spot on the team. And then Zarya asked to talk to Sol in private about her seemingly being left out of the team. We then get video on the Hardy Boys. They're going to be back next week for a title versus title match with Dark State, and says they're ready to win the only WWE titles that they never won and delete Dark State. We then get Miles Bourne. He defeats Josh Briggs via pinfall with the Born Again after a slight distraction from Matt Cardona, which was super random, but Miles earns the last spot on the men's team. We then get Jordan Grace. She congratulates Kalani Jordan and actually wants to be on the TNA team, but makes the mistake of mentioning Joe Hendry. Joe Hendry then pops in, and then Mike Santana comes in and wants to talk to Kalani, both being captains, leaving Jordan and Joe Hendry still wanting to be in the matches next week, but seemingly being left out as for now. We then get Lola Vice defeating Fallon Henley via pinfall following a spinning back fist. That gets her one of the spots on the women's team. We then get Dark State. They say they are ready for the Hardys and want to be double champions. We then get JC Jane. She says that was her fault as Fallon Henley was not ready for that match. Laney Reed comes in to say that she attacked Lola Vice and Jasmine Nix, who never belonged at Fatal Influence. This seems to stun both JC and Fallon. So Laney was kind of the attacker that helped JC retain and took out their old buddy Jasmine as a way to kind of write Jasmine off of TV. We then get our main event match where Javon Evans and Leon Slater defeat the Culling when Leon Slater hits the Swanton 450 on Sean Spears. And then we get our main event segment where Team TNA is all outside in the parking lot. They actually are in one of the Tesla Cybertrucks. Some of them are riding along in that, and then the other ones are just kind of marching along with the big TNA flag. And they go through the parking lot. We go to commercial, we come back, and then there's all of the, maybe not the whole roster, but a lot of the TNA roster and a lot of the NXT roster out ringside. Trick Williams declares himself co-captain of Team NXT. Ricky Saints says he shuts that down pretty quick. He names the men's team. It's going to be himself, Trick Williams, Javon Evans, and Miles Bourne, who won the match earlier to get onto the team. Mike Santana then says TNA has a locker room full of men ready to turn this place upside down. He says the TNA team is himself, Frankie Kazarian, Moose, and Leon Slater. Kind of weird that we didn't get a Joe Hendry there. I figured he would have been part of the TNA team, but I have a feeling they may be doing something with him and kind of making him seem kind of pissed off that he's getting looked over. JC Jane then comes in and says she doesn't buy Kalani as being loyal to NXT. She picks herself, Sol Ruka, Jada Parker, and Lola Vice for her team. And then Kalani counters that with herself, the Inspiration, who are the new Knockouts Tag Team Champions that we'll talk about later. That is Cassie Lee and Jessica McKay, a.k.a. Billie Kay, and Peyton Royce of the former Iconics. Sorry, I forgot their name there for a second. And then, so it's going to be Kalani, the Inspiration, and then she starts to say Jakara Jackson, but ends up saying Mara Sade. She obviously used to be in NXT as Jakara Jackson, but it's pretty weak picks for Team TNA. I like the Inspiration, but if the women's NXT team doesn't win, we're just giving wins to TNA for the sake of giving wins to TNA. But after all the teams are named, they kind of argue back and forth, and then a huge brawl ends with Shawn Michaels coming out to check out the action as the show goes to a close. But again, the main event match, the tag team match with Slater and Evans versus the Culling, was the best match for me on NXT. And I'm really looking forward to Showdown next week with the big Survivor Series type matches that they're going to have. So definitely be ready to check that one out on Tuesday when it comes out. But we'll go from there to Dynamite. We go to earlier in the day. Matt Jackson and Nick Jackson have big plans for their entrance for Dynamite tonight. And Matt kind of goes off to ask some people about what some crazy stuff they can do, leaving Nick with a bag full of money that they had, and he thinks that he can double it. So he goes to the casino, and he ends up losing everything. So they have no money, and they don't even get an entrance in the match to start the show. And their little Chiron graphic even says the broke bucks. So, but they do also appear in the opening contest. They and Josh Alexander lose to Brodito and Kenny Omega. Kenny Omega hits the one-winged angel on Josh Alexander. After the match, Omega has to be turned around to post to the camera. Bandito and Brody leave, and we get a tease of a reunion between Omega and the Young Bucks, but Alexander breaks it up before anything can happen. The beatdown is on, and the Bucks aren't sure what to do. We have the Jurassic Express come out to take out the Bucks, leaving Jack Perry and Kenny Omega to seemingly argue, because last time Jack Perry and Omega really had any interaction, he was going after his diverticulitis and attacking his kind of abdomen area and really fucking him up and left him on a stretcher, getting stretchered out of the arena. So Jack Perry keeps going after the Bucks, and Omega is left alone. Omega talks about the journey that it took to get here, and he's glad to have the fans who have been here since the beginning, and those who are also just starting out this journey. He then hits his catchphrases as usual, and then the lights go out, and Andrade El Idolo returns, and he lays Omega out, and he is the newest member of the Don Callis family. So the Don Callis family only grows larger. Andrade's probably where he should have been anyways. I don't think he ever really should have left, because I think, him and WWE just don't work for some reason. I think he went there to be with his wife, and obviously their relationship ended fairly quickly after he went back. So I think once that happened, he was pretty much destined to be back here. So I mean, he's kind of whatever at this point in his career. I think he can be pretty lazy when he's not motivated, but he can be really good when he is motivated. So hopefully we'll get a motivated Andrade this time. But we look back at a package talking about the last 6 years of Dynamite, because this is the 6-year anniversary of the show. Mark Briscoe says this is a night of celebration and reflection. The last few weeks have seen his life consumed by MJF, who let Mark's brother's name out of his mouth too many times. He talks about the TNT title situation, and will be happy to see Orange Cassidy win the title tonight, because he's replacing Hologram, because obviously Hologram has an injury and got taken out on Collision. He says while MJF is still pulling tacks out of his ass, so he's happy to see that MJF still isn't there. We then get Kyle Fletcher. He defeats Orange Cassidy via pinfall after who appears to be Hologram comes out and trips up Orange Cassidy on the top rope. This allows Kyle Fletcher to hit the brainbuster on the top turnbuckle to retain his championship. We go to after the match, and the beatdown is on as Hologram seems to have joined the Don Callis family. The Paragon runs in to try and make the save, and the rest of the Don Callis family runs in, and then this Hologram reveals that he is in fact El Clone, or the clone of Hologram. So he is the dark Hologram, whatever you want to call him. I think they're called him El Clone. So we'll see what they kind of do with that situation, especially since it seems like Hologram's going to be out for the next little while. But we then go to the back. Mercedes Moné is still wanting her 10th belt, but she is willing to defend her TBS title next week on Title Tuesday. She wants to face someone local in Florida, but we'll figure out who that will be as we go on later in the week. Mercedes Moné is asked about the women's tag team titles, and she says she needs a partner. So here is Harley Cameron to offer her services. She has the Moné puppet, of course, as always. They argue back and forth as Mercedes isn't interested in teaming with Harley. We then get Hangman Page, Samoa Joe, and Powerhouse Hobbs defeating the Death Riders, represented by John Moxley, Claudio Castagnoli, and Daniel Garcia, when Hangman hits the buckshot lariat on Claudio. After the match, Hangman kind of ends up with all the belts. He hands the trios title to Powerhouse Hobbs, and then he kind of a little bit forcefully shoves it into Joe's chest, and then Joe kind of gets in Hangman's face. And I think he's mad that he didn't get tagged in the match either. We get to the point where security and Powerhouse Hobbs actually have to break them up. Joe says that Hangman has never beat him, and that seems that we may have a Wrestle Dream World Title match set up right there. We then get Willow Nightingale and Jet Speed. They want to take out FTR and Stokely Hathaway, but FTR and Dax Harwood and Kevin Knight will have a singles match on Collision. We go to after the commercial break. Hangman Page says he's very confused by what Samoa Joe did out there. Hangman knows that it's about the world title, and he has it partially because of what Joe did at All In. If Samoa Joe wants a title shot, we can do it at Wrestle Dream, but don't ever come at him like that again like they did in the match earlier. We then get Toni Storm. She defeats Tay Mello via pinfall with the Storm Zero. After the match, Toni in black and white says she's heard a silence. She heard a silence at All Out, and it completely gobbled her up. what is she without the championship? She's not finished with Chris Statlander, so she's ready anywhere and anytime Stat wants to do it. We then get Sammy Guevara. He is ready for Eddie Kingston on Collision, but he is ready for him to face Drilistico and not himself. Sammy will fight on Collision, but not against Eddie Kingston. We then get Kingston's response. He says he doesn't speak Spanish, but tells Drilistico to not let Sammy Guevara speak for him, and he's ready to kind of knuckle up whenever that match happens on Saturday. We then get Samoa Joe. He isn't surprised by Hangman Page because because maybe they aren't friends after all. He has been so distracted by the Death Riders, so maybe it's time to get back to what he is, and that's a world champion. Hangman is all about cowboy shit, but if he messes with Samoa Joe, he will welcome him into the world of deep shit, which is where he will be if he faces Samoa Joe. We then get the Gates of Agony. They defeat the Swirl when they hit open the gates on Lee Johnson. After the match, Ricochet gives Blake Christian a spirit gun, and then the Hurt Syndicate come out to interrupt them. MVP asks if there are any Miami locals around here, and then apologizes to his partners for getting pinned at All Out. He says maybe he isn't as good as he used to be, but he still knows how to fight. That's why he wants a street fight rematch next week against the Gates and Ricochet, the Demand. And Ricochet says the match is on, so it's going to be the Demand versus the Hurt Syndicate next week in a Miami street fight. We then get Chris Statlander. She says she has never faced Toni Storm one-on-one, so they can do it at Wrestle Dream. Harley Cameron comes in to approve, but seems to hide the puppet Monet because she doesn't want Chris Statlander to know that she talked to her about being partners earlier. We then get Don Callis with Kazuchika Okada and Konosuke Takeshita. Says the two of them will be facing Bandito and Brody King next week. They don't seem thrilled about it, but Don Callis assures them that it will be fine. And I believe if they win that match, they actually get a title shot after that. So we'll see if that's where they end up going with that. And then we get our main event where Darby Allin and Chris Statlander defeat the Death Riders, this time represented by Marina Shafir and Wheeler Yuta, when Darby hits the coffin drop on Wheeler. After the match, Toni Storm comes out to brawl with Statlander. With the two of them gone, Darby Allin whips Yuta with a belt, but Pac runs in to beat Darby down. Mox says Darby can't make him quit, and while he doesn't know how he'll do it, he'll make Darby quit at Wrestle Dream. So pretty solid way to end the show. But as far as best match on Dynamite, I would go with Brodito and Kenny Omega versus the Bucks and Josh Alexander that opened the show. But from there, we'll move on to Impact. We get a Victory Road recap from last weekend. Santino Marella tells Mike Santana as he comes into the arena that he cannot touch Trick Williams outside of if Trick physically provokes him first. We then get Frankie Kazarian out for his talk show, The King's Speech. He says there are a bunch of people coming for his title, so he's ready to fight. First, though, he's ready to wait here for his standing ovation. Kazarian talks down about various other champions before bringing out the new Knockouts champion, Kalani Jordan. Kazarian tells her about how evil the other Knockouts can be and suggests that Kalani is just a fluke. Kalani lists off what she's done, but Kazarian says he doesn't like the NXT stars as champions in his company. That includes Trick Williams, who wouldn't have beaten Kazarian if he had been world champion. Trick then comes out, who says he wants some respect on his name. Trick brings up Mike Santana, but gets interrupted by Matt Hardy, who talks about why this company is on fire. Kazarian brings up how Jeff Hardy isn't allowed in Canada, but Leon Slater then comes out and defends his mentors, the Hardys. Kalani talks about herself but then here comes Indy Hartwell, who will face her at Bound for Glory for the Knockouts Championship, and says she's a different kind of challenger that Kalani's ever seen. Santino Marella then comes out and tries to calm things down, and then makes a 6-person tag with Mike Santana on commentary to kind of cut off the segment. So then Matt Hardy, Indy Hartwell, and Leon Slater defeat Kazarian, Trick Williams, and Kalani Jordan when Slater hits the Swanton 450 on Kazarian. We then get we get shown the TNA Showdown teams. plus some other stars. They come out to the stage with Tommy Dreamer, getting to do a big pep talk, kind of hyping them up, saying that TNA's the place to be and the team to beat. There, we get video on Mara Sade. We've kind of gotten some pieces on her, kind of telling us who she is, what she's all about, kind of trying to hype her up as a new star that could rise through the ranks. We then look at the big TNA and NXT brawl from NXT earlier this week. Just kind of a recap of that. We then get the Angel Warriors, which is Zaya Brookside and Lei Ying Lee. They defeat Kat Von Hees and Ava Lawless when Zaya hits the Brooksy bomb on Hees. Joe Hendry then is happy with beating Eric Young, but when Santino comes in to make Joe Hendry versus Eric Young next week, but this time it will be no DQ, so Joe Hendry's looking forward to beating him again. We then get a Mike Santana package, this time with Amazing Red, talking about all of the people who paved the way for Mike Santana to get there. He has faced disappointment after disappointment, and now Santana needs to succeed this time. Trick Williams has come into his house, and it's time for Santana to fight back for all of the Latinos and TNA as a whole. We then get Nick Nemeth. He defeats the Hometown Man via pinfall after a little help from his brother Ryan, and then he hits the Danger Zone. After the match, they beat him down, but Matt Cardona comes out to make the save before they can take away his mask. We then get Gia Miller. She has told us that she has allowed for Tessa Blanchard's suspension to be lifted, and now they are fighting at Bound for Glory. Gia Miller doesn't even care if she wins or loses as long as she gets to beat Tessa up. So interesting way to go with Tessa. I mean, you could use her in a more kind of important role, but it has been a pretty fired up feud so far. So it'll be interesting to see what Gia can kind of do in the match. We then get Alicia Edwards defeating Tasha Steelz via pinfall when she uses a kendo stick and then hits a pedigree and pins her. After the match, the brawl between Order 4 and the System rages on again as they build towards the Hardcore War match at Bound for Glory. We then get Tessa Blanchard. She's in the back. She talks about helping Gia Miller in the past, who stormed off and went to train with Mike Jackson instead of continuing to train with her through all the lumps and hard times that she was having getting through her camp. She says she is fine with beating up Gia Miller again and will take her out permanently this time. We then get the Inspiration defeating the Elegance brand, winning the TNA Women's Knockouts Championship, or tag team championships, when they hit the Idolizer on Heather by Elegance after Heather had accidentally thrown champagne in M by Elegance's face. So they end up pinning Heather, but Heather kind of took out M to set up the finish. So the Inspiration are your new Knockouts tag team champions. They kind of spoiled that on NXT. It had been taped, obviously, but this TNA episode had been taped, but obviously it was pretty much a layup. Once Ash Elegance went out and this title match was made, it was pretty much a layup that the Inspiration were going to win. It'll be interesting to see if they continue with the Elegance brand, because they could keep them going, but they kind of lose a little bit of luster without having their leader there. But as far as best match, I would go with that 6-man opener or 6-person opener with Hardy, Leon Slater, and Indy Hartwell beating Kazarian, Trick, and Kalani. I thought that was the best match for the show. We'll then go to SmackDown from there. We open with Cody coming out to the ring. He asks what the fans want to talk about, but gets cut off by Paul Heyman and the Vision, obviously. Randy Orton runs out to even things out, so he doesn't get attacked 2-on-1. Heyman then introduces Bronson and Braun, obviously, doing all of his usual stuff. Heyman then says they're here to talk to Orton, who is a hard man to reach. They knew that that they could get Orton here by cornering Cody. And after mocking the RKO chants, Heyman moves on to tonight's tag team match. Heyman wonders how it's going to go, as Orton will either be thinking he could be a better champion than Cody, or Cody will wonder whether Randy where Randy was when they lose. So kind of trying to get in their minds that they aren't good for each other and they're not really friends. So Heyman playing some mind games with Cody and Randy. So we'll see how that works out later tonight. We then get The Miz. He confronts Carmelo Hayes for not helping him last week when he clearly could have. Carmelo tells him that this whole thing is done between the two of them, and Miz should be happy because Hayes usually shoots first, so he should be happy that he didn't take him out instead of just saying that the partnership is done. We then get Carmelo Hayes. He comes out to answer Sami Zayn's open challenge for the U.S. title once again, but the Miz then comes out from behind and hits him with the skull-crushing finale on the ramp, taking him out. Aleister Black then trots around the referees trying to help Carmelo up, and he will answer the open challenge instead. Sami Zayn then defeats Aleister Black via pinfall after Damian Priest provides a distraction long enough for Zayn to hit the haluva kick, and then that hits the Blue Thunder Bomb for the win. After the match, Priest gets Aleister Black and hits the Razor's Edge through the announce table and leaves him laying. We then get Chelsea Green and Alba Fire. They interrupt Sol Ruca and Zarya talking to Nick Aldis. Chelsea wants them to possibly be Piper Niven's replacement in the Secret Service, but gets a match instead, and this seems to make her quite angry. We then get Sol Ruca and Zarya defeating Alba Fire and Chelsea Green when Sol hits the Soul Snatcher on Chelsea for the win. We then go to the back, and Charlotte and Alexa Bliss seem impressed by Sol and Zarya, and says they might get a title shot one day while they still try to be buddies, but they're really just kind of champions by convenience instead of because they're actually friends. We then go to the back, and we go to another part of the back where Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton are talking. They are cool with each other and seem to still be buddies, and nothing's going to come between them. So we have that. We then go back to the ring where Nick Aldis is going to have a contract signing for the women's Crown Jewel Championship match where Tiffany Stratton and Stephanie Vaquer will face each other. They both come out, they stare for a little bit, and Vaquer says, "May the best woman win." Tiffany then says she'll win because it doesn't matter where they are, as it will be always Tiffy time. They both sign, and Nick Aldis hypes up the match before Tiffany leaves. Kiana James and Julia then come out to jump Tiffany and say Vaquer isn't a superstar just yet. Kiana offers to represent Vaquer, but Tiffany is back up to pull Kiana to the floor. Vaquer then goes after Julia, and then she tries to hit her with the SVB, but Julia is able to escape. We then go to earlier today. We have Javon Evans talking. He says he talked to Nick Aldis, who thinks Evans has a bright future on NXT. Rey Fenix then comes up to talk to Javon, but Los Garza comes in to interrupt them and kind of mock them. And then they have a match set up between the four of them tonight. Tag match, obviously. We then cut to Jacob Fatu. He is tired of hearing people whining, which is why he interrupted Drew McIntyre last week. And he is going to the top, and McIntyre isn't going to be the one that stops him. We then get Javon Evans and Phoenix defeating Los Garza when Phoenix hits the MMB on Angel for the win. We then go to Damian Priest getting interviewed. He says that he is the consequences for Aleister Black. Kit Wilson, who seems to continue to have a problem with Damian Priest, he's in a wheelchair and he comes in to talk to Priest. He calls Priest out for his toxicity, his toxic masculinity. Priest then grabs the wheelchair by the back and sends him down this little hill that's kind of behind him. It's kind of a ramp that trucks would seemingly go up to like deliver things. So he crashes into like a bunch of boxes, and it sounds like a bunch of poles kind of fall over. But then he announces that him and Aleister will face each other next week in a last man standing match ahead of Crown Jewel Perth on SmackDown. We then get Solo Sikoa bringing Tala Tonga back into the family. He says he loves him, and Tala Tonga returns that love. But Solo in this segment says he still thinks something is missing from the MFTs, and that is something he's still searching for, and he will find. And then everybody will be put on notice when that happens. We then get the Street Profits with BFAB. They are ready for the Wyatt Six next week, and they are fighting for each other. The Wyatts then pop on the screen behind them to point out the issues that the Profits have been having lately and continue to play mind games with them to kind of try to get them to break apart so they can retain their championships. We then get the Vision. They defeat Randy Orton and Cody Rhodes when Seth Rollins comes out and hits the stomp on Orton while the ref has been distracted, and then Reed hits a tsunami, and that gets the Vision the win. After the match, Rollins wants to go after Cody Rhodes, but Heyman tells him not to. But Rollins, being as strong-willed and kind of hard-headed as he is, he goes after Cody anyways, and Rollins goes after him and is promptly crossroads to end the show. So Cody ends up on top, and Heyman was probably right, as Seth should probably not go after him in that situation. So, but I kind of said this last week or a couple weeks ago. I think as long as the Sami Zayn open challenges are still happening, I think that'll be the best match of the show every week. And this week was no different, as Sami and Alistair was very, very good. And kind of continued the situation between Damian and Alistair. I will say it does make Sami look kind of weak. I feel like he's had to get a little help a couple of times in these U.S. Open challenges. So hopefully he'll continue to win kind of strongly going forward. But we'll see how that kind of continues to work. But we will go to our last show, which is Collision for the week. We get kind of our roundup promos to start the show. We hear from Stokely Hathaway. We hear from Kevin Knight. We hear from La Facción and Gobernable. We hear from Eddie Kingston, Anna Jay, Orange Cassidy, and the Paragon, who are all ready to fight tonight. We actually see Pac come up to Orange Cassidy and say that he has 6 months of pin-up aggression to get out, and then he challenges him to a match at Dynamite, and Orange Cassidy agrees, but he only agrees after guaranteeing that no interference will happen and that it will be truly one-on-one between the two of them. But then we go to our first match. The Death Riders, represented by John Moxley, Claudio, and Daniel Garcia, defeat Jay Lethal, Adam Priest, and Tommy Billington when Garcia gets Lethal to tap to the Dragon Tamer. After the match, Matt Menard yells at Daniel Garcia, who asks if Menard can take a hint. Daniel Garcia says that Menard is like a brother to him, but Garcia lost when they were friends because Menard is a loser too. If he stayed around Menard, he would wind up a parasite like Nigel McGuinness, which Nigel doesn't seem to take too kindly to either. So Garcia basically saying he joined the Death Riders because they're winners. And Menard and Nigel obviously aren't two people that he saw himself winning alongside of. So, but then we get our some video on Darby Allin and John Moxley, kind of their rivalry, obviously headed towards their big I Quit match at Wrestle Dream. We go to the back, and the doctor is checking on Nick Wayne. He says he is going. They say he's going to be out another 6 to 8 weeks. Nick Wayne doesn't accept this diagnosis and says he'll go find a real doctor. We then get Jamie Hayter defeating Anna Jay via pinfall following the Haterade. We then go to the back, and Max Caster is happy having won a match, but Brian Keith and Big Bill come in to mock him. Anthony Bowens then comes in, who has a bunch of his own covers and awards. And then a match is set up between the four of them, but Bowens wants everyone to know that they are not the Acclaimed, but they are partners of convenience at this point. We then get videos of Sari, who is defending the IWGP women's title against Alex Windsor next week on Ring of Honor. So not even on Dynamite or Collision, but we get the announcement of a Ring of Honor match. So that could be an interesting one to check out. I don't obviously cover Ring of Honor here anymore, but that seems like a big kind of high caliber match. So if you want to check that out, definitely look for that one. We then get La Facción and Gobernables, represented by Sammy Guevara and Roosh. They defeat Shane Stetson and Cha-Cha Charlie when Roosh hits the horns on Charlie, and then Sammy follows it with a swanton of his own to get the win. It was pretty much a squash. It only lasted like maybe not even 2 minutes. So just kind of trying to continue to push them forward as the ROH Tag Team Champions. We then get Eddie Kingston facing the other part of La Facción and Gobernables, which is Drilistico, and Eddie Kingston defeats him via pinfall with the spinning back fist. We look back at the return of Andrade El Idolo on Dynamite, where he laid out Kenny Omega and joined Don Callis. We get Hologram's clone also joining the team, kind of highlights of that later in the night. We then get MXM TV, which is MXM, Mansois and Massey, or Mason Madden, or whatever his name is, teamed up with Johnny TV, which is Johnny Nitro, Johnny Mundo, whatever you want to call him. So MXM and Johnny TV, they head out for an open challenge. The Don Callis family, represented by Josh Alexander, Kyle Fletcher, and Konosuke Takeshita, answer and destroy MXM TV pretty quickly, destroying them, and they end up pinning Mansois in just over 3 minutes after hitting him with the C4 spike and Brainbuster. So he really gets devastated at the end of that match. So we then get Dalton Castle and the Outrunners in the back. They say they want the trios titles. Castle isn't so sure, though, because they have to top their amazing performance from last week. The pressure is crashing down on him, so the Outrunners pick him up and carry him off. Dalton Castle then thinks he is in good hands with the Outrunners. We then get the Triangle of Madness. They jump Jamie Hayter and Queen Aminata backstage as they're cutting a promo, kind of laying them out and telling them that they're still the ladies to mess with in this division. Nobody gets to get anywhere unless they go through them. Kevin Knight then defeats Dax Harwood in kind of an upset, I would say, via pinfall following a spinning frog splash. After the match, FTR has to save Stokely Hathaway from Willow Nightingale. So here is Megan Bain and Penelope Ford to make sure Nightingale is taken out. So I don't know if FTR just gained a new women's side of their faction, or if Stokely's going to manage Megan and Penelope going forward, but they seem to be aligned as of this night, at least. We then get Skyflight, which is Scorpio Sky and Top Flight. They want the ROH 6-man tag team titles, which is held by Shane Taylor Promotions right now. And they say, Shane Taylor Promotions say they're in for a match for those titles at a later date. We then get Chris Statlander. She comes out to call out Tony Storm to have a chit chat. Naturally, they lay on the mat next to each other, head to head. Statlander even caresses her face at certain points. Talks about how they've never faced each other, and they're having the match because they're both fighting champions. But Chris Statlander is going to fight even harder to make sure she keeps her title. Stat is going to knock her back into black and white if that's what she has to do. Storm has always been impressed by Statlander and now gets to see what kind of woman Statlander is. There is no one she would rather lose to, but there's also no one she would rather beat. They can do this right now, and the fight is on. They start to kind of brawl with each other, but the Triangle of Madness then comes out, running out to jump them both and kind of take them out. And then Harley Cameron comes out, and the Triangle of Madness seems to kind of bail as all three women kind of recover. And they don't want any of that mess. So probably a 6-man tag or 6-woman tag heading our way with those 6 in the near future, I would say. If not on Dynamite, it'll probably be on Collision next week. We then get a video of the scuffles between Hangman Page and Samoa Joe from Dynamite this past week. And then we get our main event where Paragon and Orange Cassidy defeat the Don Callis family, this time represented by Lance Archer, Hunter Cero, and Rocky Romero, when, you guessed it, Kyle O'Reilly gets Rocky Romero to tap to the cross arm breaker. So if Rocky Romero's in the match, he's taking the pin or submission. So O'Reilly gets him to tap to the cross arm breaker, and then instead of attacking, the rest of the Don Callis family just kind of comes out, and we have a stare down between Paragon and Orange Cassidy and the rest of the Don Callis family. So probably get them kind of going towards the higher end of the Don Callis family next week and facing Alexander and maybe Okada and Takeshita or somebody like that, or maybe even Fletcher, Alexander, and Takeshita, kind of like that fought earlier tonight. So, but yeah, another solid show, another a solid Collision as always. Usually a pretty good wrestling show, but Harwood and Knight would be my match of the night. That main event tag was pretty good as well, but maybe a little less wrestling on this Collision as per usual, or just important matches, I should say. But I would go with that one as my match of the night. And that'll wrap up the week. Kind of a shorter week based on the fact that we've had a ton of PLEs and special events lately. So, but we will be right back at it next week, and we will see you when we get there. Thank you for joining me.
Crowd is here, about to blow.